God spoke to me and told me to God spoke to me and told me to sell my house without a plan B, without another house, without another apartment, without anything. And did I add I'm married with children and a dog? Where were we going to go? Hey, 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 my name is Destiny Thomas. Welcome back to my channel. And today I want to share on a topic that I get questioned about so much, which is Destiny. You always say God said or God told me to do this. Girl, how do you hear the voice of God? And I feel like I cannot share how I hear the voice of God without sharing the background story to what has built my confidence and my ability to hear the voice of God so confidently. And so take a seat, buckle up, and prepare for this ride. So I'm going to share the story as quickly as possible, but without taking out the details that are most important. So rewind with me to about 2010. I was about to get married at 21 years old. I had made the decision to marry the love of my life, Mr. Thomas. And because we were choosing to get married at such a young age, we both decided that we were going to wait to have children. And so when everybody would ask, "Oh, when you guys planning on starting a family?" we would say, "We're going to wait about 3 to 3.5 years." If you don't get anything from what I share with you tonight, I pray that you leave with watch your words because they don't have a sense of humor. Okay? But either way, so we had decided not to have children for 3 to 3.5 years. And we started doing what married people do. And we ended up getting pregnant. But unfortunately, I ended up miscarrying that baby. And even though we originally intended to not have kids for 3 to 3.5 years, I had this void that was created from losing the baby. And I wanted to also prove to my husband that he didn't make a mistake by marrying me because his father was deceased. So he was the one that was going to continue to carry their last name and their legacy. And I wanted to ensure I didn't promise to give him children if I wasn't able to. Right. And so I found myself on this infertility journey. I was diagnosed by the doctors with polycystic ovarian syndrome. Try saying that 3 times fast, or most people know it as PCOS. I was also diagnosed by the doctors with endometriosis and also a condition known as hostile mucus. It means the mucus from my body was actually attacking my husband's soldiers. So, talk about a triple whammy, okay? And so, my entire family has plenty of children. Nobody ever had any of those conditions that I knew about. My mom had fibroids at one point, but nothing of the sorts of what was coming up. And so I found myself on this journey of who am I? What is going on? God, why do you hate me so much? And I had been a Christian since I was 8 years old. I had had an intimate relationship with God, or so I thought, since I was young. But what I realized on that journey was that I was what he and I like to call an entitled Christian. I had started treating God like a genie. Basically, when I would pray, he would give it to me. And so I thought that was the rhythm. I thought that was the beat of our drum. Right. I asked to get a good paying job out of high school. I got it. I asked to be married. I got it. I asked to purchase a home by 2023. I got it. Like everything I asked to purchase a Mercedes. I got it. Like everything I asked God for, it literally just kind of came. And there was no sweat equity involved. And so I had got to this point where I'm like, God, what is going on? Like, did I break the machine? Like, hello, do you not hear me? And the Lord just kept saying, but at this time, I didn't hear him as clearly as I do now. But then I would get like sermons he would lead me to, or just open in the Bible and I would read scriptures about like just waiting, or his timing is perfect, or, the story of Hannah and things like that. And so I was like, well, I need to get an answer. Like, God, I need you to come down from heaven and give me an answer, because at this point, years are passing and nothing's helping. But all I'm doing is spending more and more and more money to try to have a baby. and my marriage is starting to fail. My health is declining because I'm like trying so many different steroids and just different things. My mental health is gone. I just was in such a bad space, and I really got to a point where I was like, God, I don't even want anything to do with you, because you obviously don't love me as much as you say you do. You obviously don't care about me as much as you say you do. You're out here giving everybody and their mama a child, but I'm married, we own a house, we even drive a freaking Mercedes minivan, we got good paying jobs. Like, why are we not good enough? Or why am I not good enough? Right. And so I said, I need to find a solution to this, because here I am reading the Bible. I'm reading the in the book of Samuel, Hannah's story, and I'm reading that it says that God closed her womb. So you're the one in control of this womb being open. Nobody else, not a doctor, not even me, nobody. Right. And so I said, okay. So I started studying the book of Samuel and Hannah's story, and I was like, okay, I have to, God, I need you. And so I have been taught for years that you don't question God. Like, he already knows what's going to happen, when it's going to happen. So there's no reason of like questioning it. You just got to, accept the process for what it is. And so um, I just kind of was like, well, that's not good enough for me. I have been taught my whole life you don't question God. Like, he already knows what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. So you just got to kind of let it be what it's going to be. And I was like, well, that's not good enough for me. Like, mm-mm. So I said, okay, I'm going to get around it. So I picked up a pen and I picked up a journal and I began to write it. I began to write everything I was feeling to God, but in journal form. So I would say, Dear God, why do you hate me so much? Why are you making my body reject me? Why are you? And I'm just like literally being as a blunt and as honest. Excuse me. I'm literally being as blunt and as honest as I could be. Because I was like, at this point, I don't have anything to lose. Like, I'm already down pretty bad. And so, um, I'm being like super blunt, super honest, because at this point, I don't have anything to lose. Like, I'm already down pretty bad. So, God, here we are, right? And so I'm just being super honest. I'm like, like, you say you're a good father, but what kind of father would treat his child like this? Like, just being super honest. And so I did that for probably about 2 weeks. Just venting, journaling and venting, writing down everything I'm feeling. And then after like the 2 week mark, I felt led to write GS and keep writing. I was like, okay. So I'm just venting and venting, and then I would write GS and I just keep on going, right? But I'm not going back and reading it because I'm too afraid of like reading aloud what I'm saying to God. That is not really nice. And I just close the book and I do it again because it was making me feel better. Like, it was making me feel like I'm getting this out, even though I feel like he's not responding. So about 2 weeks into doing that, I felt an unction from God to go back and read the journal entries, specifically after the GSs. And I was like, oh my God, he is responding to me. Oh my God, he's talking back to me. And I was just so amazed. And what I think amazed me the most was like, he wasn't cussing me out. He wasn't like, how dare you? I am God. He was just like, baby girl, you have to trust the process. Baby girl, I have great things in store for you. Like, he was just so comforting and so loving. And I was like, oh my gosh. So once I realized he answered, I was like, okay, what else can I ask him about? So I was asking about my marriage and my job and just life. And I just was asking him all the questions. And I was getting answers. And I was like, oh my God. And so me and him did that song and dance for years. It was just something between he and I, where I would voice how I felt and I would let him respond. And then fast forward in 2017, the Lord began to tell me he was about to call me out of my job. And I was like, maybe I'm not hearing him no more. because that can't be God. This is craziness. But I was like, okay, like keep going. Tell me what's next. And he literally gave me step by step instructions of when to leave, how to leave, why he had me leaving. And I will share that story probably in the next vlog, the full story of when he told me to leave, because I want to have my journal with me with those details. But yeah, so he told me to leave my job, but he wouldn't tell me what was next. He was like, I'll give you the next steps when you obey. And so I ended up leaving my corporate job. And the next thing he told me was he wanted me to go live on Facebook and pray for his people and to write my first book about my infertility journey. And so as I'm going live praying for people after like a week and a half of disobedience, because I was like, pray, a young lady reached out to me and she was like, I need you to teach me how you hear the voice of God so clearly. And I was like, I can't teach you that. Like, who teaches people that? And I told her, go away. And she ended up coming back again. And I'm like, what is wrong with this girl? I cannot teach you how to hear the voice of God. Like, I just hear what I hear and I just repeat it. And I said, I can't help you, baby. And she came back a third time and I said, you know what? I'm out here, quit my job, obeying God. I'm out here with him. So let me not disregard it. Let me take it before him. And he said, Destiny, this is where your purpose is. I want you to teach my children how to hear me clearly. And I was like, but I don't know how to do that. And he was like, yes, you do. You're going to teach them the method that I taught you. And I was like, but it's not a method. Like I literally just do. And he was like, okay, so work backwards. What do you do? And we literally came up with a process that is now known as Prayerpy. And it is prayer and therapy together, because using that process, the Lord took me through an inner healing process known as Prayerpy that led to me being healed and working through identity issues, rejection, and abandonment. That is what actually had my womb closed. Just to add this to the story, though, because everybody was like, okay, so did you ever have kids? I actually have three now, two boys and a girl. So God did bless my womb. But in that, He also birthed my business. He birthed me as the therapist, and He birthed Prayerpy. And so now I teach thousands and thousands of people how to confidently hear the voice of God for themselves, to heal internally, to avoid self sabotage on their way to elevation, and to gain clarity at a deeper level that's attached to them realizing their destiny. And I want to share those 6 steps with you all, because they're not telling you how to pray, right? Because prayer should be different. We're all different, but they create the foundation that makes your ability to hear him clearer, if that makes any sense. So, number one is create the atmosphere. And this is super important because hearing from God is a form of worship, it's a form of inviting him into that space, right? And so you want to create the atmosphere, and you can do that by just worshiping him, to invite him in the room. You can play worship music, you can play soaking music. It's up to you, but creating the atmosphere, inviting him into the space, right? Number two is ask God for peace, or ask is what it is. And so one thing God said is, a lot of my children don't know if I'm talking to them because they never asked if it's me, right? And Matthew 7:7 says, ask and you shall receive, right? And so remember, this is all in journaling format. And so what I do is, when I pick the song or the worship, I write that at the top of the page. I write Dear God, and then on the top left hand side, I write what song I was playing, or how I created the atmosphere. Then the second thing is ask. So I say, God, remove the spirit of distraction, give me peace, and allow me to hear from you and only you. Right? When it comes to hearing the voice of God, there's only 3 people that can be talking: yourself, the devil, and God. Right? So when you create the atmosphere, that's getting rid of the devil. If you do not know, the devil was the angel of music. And so he does not like any music that is edifying God. He doesn't like anything that is worshiping God, right? And so that's how you get rid of him. And then step number 2 gets rid of you. So you say, God, remove the spirit of distraction, give me peace, and allow me to hear from you and only you. That ass piece, right? So now he has removed you out of the equation. So the only person that can speak is him, right? Number 3 is start with gratitude. We have all encountered that one person in our lives that when they call our phone, we do not answer, or we're like, I know they asking for something, right? And so, if we be honest, a lot of us have become that to God. We only want to talk to Him when we need something. We about to make another broken promise to see if He can show up for us yet again. And so, to avoid that, you want to go in with gratitude, right? God, thank you for waking me up this morning. Thank you for giving me a home. Thank you for providing food for my children and I to eat. Thank you for providing gas for me to get back and forth to work. You want to go in with gratitude, because when you go in with gratitude, you're going with your heart out and not your hand, right? Also, the reason why gratitude is so important, because when you are thanking God for what He has done, you are reminded He can do it again. And so if you have a pressing matter that seems impossible, as you're thanking God for everything He has done and everything He's doing in that current moment, you're reminded, I am talking to God. He can do this again. Oh my God, what was I thinking, right? And your posture changes, and you go from begging God to show up for you to boldly um, declaring and decreeing that He will show up for you. Amen. All right. And number 4 is praying vulnerably. I get a lot of pushback on this one because we have learned as a society to pray surface level prayers. God, pay my bill. God, get me from here to there. God, heal my body, right? But we find ourselves in the cycle of things, right? Where, okay, you ask God to give you a boyfriend, but then you realize, okay, it's been only 2 years and I've already had like 4 boyfriends. Like, baby, I'm the common denominator. I need to be asking God to show me myself at this point, right? Or I keep asking God every single month, God, pay my rent. Give me enough money for my rent. Give me enough money for my mortgage. Baby, there's a cycle there. You need to be asking God, God, what decisions am I making throughout the month that's leading me here? God, what decisions am I making in my day-to-day life that's making me here? You are the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. You own a cattle on 1,000 hills. There's no reason why I should be struggling every single month. God, reveal to me anything I need to be delivered from, right? So praying vulnerably is when we begin to ask God the hard questions, right? God, what is it in me that I'm missing? God, pull out the mirror and the magnifying glass on me so I can know what is really going on, right? And then number 5 is be still and listen. Let me say it for the people in the back. Be still and listen. One thing that God reminded me when I was finally able to hear Him speak is He said, Destiny, this entire time you weren't praying at all. You were just venting. I was like, no, I wasn't. I was crying. I was so cool shit that I see. I was praying, God. He was like, no, no, no. He said, Destiny, praying is to be in conversation with me. He said, if you call one of your friends to vent, what do? I was like, I'll call them and I get off my chest what's going on. And then I'm like, okay, girl, these kids are acting crazy. Let me get off the phone. He said, and what do you do when you're calling an expert that has a solution to your problem? What do you do then? I said, well, I'll call them. I do my salutations. And I say, hey, I have something I need some help on. And they're like, okay. They let me explain what it is. And then I listen attentively for them to give me the response. He said, so which one have you been doing with me? Crickets. I've been venting. You're right, God. You know what? You do know what you're talking about, right? And so be still and listen. It's okay for you to vent, to get it off your chest. That's what praying vulnerably is. God, what is wrong with me? God, what is going on? Why am I here again? Right? But you want to be still and listen because He is the one with the solution. He is the expert of all things you. All things you, right? And so you want to be still and listen. So what I do when I'm journaling for that portion is I take any questions that I formulated in the pray vulnerable part and I bring them down. So I say, okay, God, what is it about me that keeps ending me here? Right? God, why does this keep happening to me? And what I do is, as I'm writing down the question, answers will begin to formulate. And I write down immediately what I'm hearing. So if I say, God, what color shirt should I wear tomorrow? When I say, God, what color, I immediately hear yellow. So I'm going to write down yellow. Now, after I hear yellow, I hear blue and red. I'm not going to write blue and red because those are my carnal thoughts trying to make sense of if yellow really is my color. Right? So you're going to write down immediately what you hear once you begin to write down those questions. And then the last one is to um, ask God for confirmation. And this to me is the most important part, because if it's not backed by the word, is a God, right? And so during this portion, I say, God, if this was you that was speaking to me, confirm it with your word. And I have been blown away, because at this point, obviously I've been doing this for quite a while. He gives me not only the scripture, but he gives me the translation. He'll tell me how, like, he'll even, like, sometimes he doesn't say like the actual scripture. He'll say, Google scriptures about depression. And one of them will be highlighted, and he goes, that one. Like, it's just so amazing. And so if you are someone that is like, how do I hear the voice of God? God, what do you sound like? Now, I like to be clear, journaling is not the only way to hear from God. But the reason why I love journaling so much is because it was through journaling that it built my confidence in how God sounds to me. Let me say it again. Journaling isn't the only way to hear God's voice. God speaks to me through song. He speaks to me through dreams. But what I love about journaling is it built my foundation with how God sounds to me. God calls me baby girl, right? So if I'm driving and I hear baby girl, make a right turn, I know that's him, right? And so it built my confidence in my ability to hear him for myself. And from there, it just grew. It even gave me interpretation for my dreams that I had before, but I didn't know, God, was this from you or was this from somebody else? Okay. And so I really, really encourage you to try those 6 steps. In the description below, I am going to put the link to download the template. I'm also going to put the link to join us for 6 a.m. prayer. We host that Mondays and Wednesdays. We're reading through the Bible, but we also discuss different ways to hear the voice of God for yourself. And I hope you subscribe, like, share, and come back, because I will also be sharing just some additional stories. I'll be sharing my story of how me obeying the voice of God led to me being homeless and in this hotel. So stay tuned for that.